Tammy, we're encouraging our children to fornicate. What's next, Ann? Would you like to see mothers passing out prophylactics? Now, Timmy, I packed your lunch. Don't forget your condom.
This way it'll just get everybody all grouped together. These lights should be moved around to get all this. I mean, you're going to have to keep along here. All right, now what you're seeing here, you're seeing 4 generations. I'm just using these as an example of generations here, okay? Now it says visiting the fathers. Well, we know the women are not fathers, don't we? But the fathers can have children unless there's women involved, so we use the women. We don't want to leave them out. So, I'm going to just start here at one of these. Now, I know they're all somewhat the same age range, maybe give or take 1 or 2 years, but let's start down here with Lieutenant Julie. She is a mother, which she really is. All right, now, I don't like to say this, but say she has some sort of affair and a curse is brought upon her. She births a daughter, and that daughter is Iantha. Now, this is how the generations work. This curse, when this demon entered her by this sexual sin or idolatry, entered in her, when this child was born, that demon left her body, went right into this body.
Oftentimes we were in the
Now this works this way, whether you believe it or not. She in turn, maybe because of that curse upon her life, does the same thing.
Inadvertently prophesied the demise of Rebecca becoming a adulterous, promiscuous whore, just like her mother.
Was a harlot.
She knew that was a lie. My mother was judged because she committed spiritual adultery. And I didn't know. I didn't know what it meant. And I was too afraid to ask.
The sins of the first generation is passed on to the third and fourth, just like the Bible says. Of course, this could have been avoided if Rebecca had repented and got delivered from that demon that her mom has. That's enough of this. Now let's go back to the matriarch liar-in-chief, Mara, and her letters of confession, contrasted with her testimony under oath, contrasted with Rebecca's notarized expose of the truth that defected and got beat for
so just look at them and sigh.
Letter number 5, Marshmere, page 22, trilogy number 3. Jim Green speaking. I've already proved that Mara has did live with Stephen, her son, lived in 5 different locations in camp. Remember her saying on the Dr. Phil TV show that she was never allowed to see or talk to her children? She implies this under oath, too. She states clearly that she lived with her son and lived around other co-members. Listen to this, letter number 5, quote.
It's a heartbeat, just walking through the kitchen, out to see the bathroom, out to use the bathroom.
Bathroom? Isn't this where people take baths and go to the toilet? But according to Mara on the Dr. Phil show...
I was ordered to move into that shed. There were no windows in the shed. It was full of mildew, and you couldn't stand upright. No bath, no shower for 6 months.
No shower for 6 months. You were allowed to use the toilet at the chop shop. It was often locked.
Spare me, Mara. Why lock access to a toilet when you were not the only ones using it? The point is, she just lied about not having a toilet to use. She used the bathrooms in all our houses in camp. There were 4 houses. Get serious. Mara had access to plus the chop shop. Mara had access to the toilet at the art shop also. So that's what? 7? 6. 6 bathrooms she had access to. the Sacramento Bee newspaper in 1988, Mara was reported as saying,
for 6 months, she said she was not allowed to bathe or have any hot water. Frequently, she did not have access to a bathroom.
listen to this, Mara's testimony under oath.
After about 2 weeks, Leila Green stormed into our room and showed me a basket of soaps and cleaners which she said Stephen had dumped out in the sanctuary bathroom.
By room, she meant bedroom in barracks number 3. But what about being locked up, dear Mara? And what about not talking to anyone except Rachel, especially your kids? And what about not being around a bathroom toilet for 6 months? And what about your reaction to what Leila was telling you?
Stephen is with me all day long.
This was written by you, Mara, under oath. Sure doesn't match up with your statement on the Phil show. You would have the world believe we kept you from talking to your kids, seeing your kids, or even hearing any of your kids for 6 months. Yet here is Stephen with you, as you testified under penalty of perjury, quote,
All day long.
Mara used the sanctuary bathroom plus all the bathrooms in camp.
When he had to use the bathroom, I would walk him out to the chop shop. I never let him out of my sight.
Now, isn't that something?
A few days later, I was told by Leila that Stephen had vandalized the bathroom upstairs.
Oh yeah, Stephen was a real handful.
Do I dare respond to the food issue? Hasn't Mara implied that she was starved by us? Didn't she claim that all she ate and imply that all she was allowed to eat was peanut butter sandwiches? In letter number 5, was Mara talking about food, that is peanut butter sandwiches, or food she gorged on in the mess hall? She personally told both of us generals that she was getting too fat and wanted us to remove her from mess hall duty. To hear her tell it to the world, she only ate 1 meal a day for 6 months, consisting of 6 stale peanut butter sandwiches. And during this time, as we have noted, she implies in various places to have been restricted from using any bathroom at all and had access to no hot water, and sometimes she makes it sound like no access to any water. In Mara Schmear's testimony under oath, she said,
And then would yell, Time to go to work.
Work? I thought you were idle with nothing to do. Sometimes Mara has made it sound like she just stayed crouched in a shed for 6 months.
I had only one white sack dress which I was required to wear at all times. We had no washer or dryer. We washed our clothes in the outside faucet.
Outside faucet? You mean you could at least wash up or drink outside? Yep. But what about your being locked up for 10 weeks or 6 months? On page 9 of her testimony under oath, she writes in great detail about being treated like criminals. She gives gruesome details of all the job assignments she was forced to do. On page 10 is full of job assignments.
We spent up to 6 hours a day sawing wood.
Sawing wood? What for? How about for heating the chop shop and the kid playhouse? Oh no, but the generals made you freeze too, in those dank, mildewy basement floors and unheated, uninsulated sheds. Right, Rebecca? Right, Mara? You liars. Quote,
Tore down the shed, and afterwards, we then were ordered to pull out the nails from all the 2x4s and haul the plywood away. The scrap wood we were ordered to cut up for firewood.
there you have it, firewood for heating those 2 places Mara lived. On page 18 of Mara's TUO,
she really puts us through it and talking about carrying heavy extension ladders, blah, 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 blah. Which is it, Mara? Did you not work or did you overwork?
Were you starved, or were you getting fat? Were you held captive, or were you free to leave any time? We're all waiting for a clear answer. Page 22, Mara says,
how can I put into words the horror of what I experienced? How can I put into words the excruciating heart pain of being rejected?
why did you ask your husband who you were playing around on and cheating on? Don't you think he felt rejection from you in your whoring, Mara?
How can I describe the agony of being ordered by my husband himself?
Oops. Don't you mean old generals?
You move into a dirty, mildew, dark, wet, drafty, and cold shed!
The stories originated in the Far East before traveling through ancient Rome and, of course, Transylvania. But vampires in the 21st century? At least one person thinks we should still be on our guard. Meet Catherine Ramslin, forensic psychologist from Pennsylvania's DeSales University and author of 4 books investigating today's vampire subculture.
People tend to believe a vampire is what we see from Dracula, but since the 1990s, we've really had a difference in how people understand the vampire, and they've redefined it.
She's on her way to an interview with a vampire. At least, that's what he says he is. 4 years ago, Don Henry was an electronics engineer.
Whether I like it or not, but I do. I have become, I guess you'd say, the face or sort of a role model for my community.
Don is now the modest figurehead of America's flourishing vampire culture, now spread over nearly 80 cities. But don't worry, they may call themselves vampires, but they're definitely not Count Dracula.
I don't turn into bats. I'm not afraid of crosses, and I have normal needs like everyone else.
However, some of them claim that they do drink blood from consenting victims.
Do you drink blood?
Yes, I do.
I don't turn to mist.
What happens to you when you take it from somebody?
I feel invigorated.
And how do they feel?
Drained.
Blood drinking carries health risks, so most 21st century vampires have found another way to suck our blood.
Some people actually do it emotionally. I will harvest that energy and actually take it upon myself, and then finally project it outward.
But according to Catherine, the vampires to be really afraid of don't dress like Nosferatu.
But I do know from being a psychologist that there is such a thing as a psychological vampire that somehow manages to take all your resources. It could be financial, it could be emotional. They use your trust, they get in close, they suck you dry just like a vampire.